Hello. So in this video, we're going to talk about Joe Alves' film Jaws 3, or Jaws 3D, technically. Um, this film came out in 1983. It was part of the sort of 3D craze at the time, where people were just making all kinds of movies in 3D, and movie theaters would give you those cheap plastic the cheap cardboard framed 3D glasses. Glad that trend is over, but in the 2D version, which is what I watched on YouTube, it's just called Jaws 3. It ain't a great movie. You may be shocked to learn that the third entry in the Jaws franchise is not all that good. Part of the reason, in fact, that it is not good is in the 2D version is because it was originally designed for 3D, and so you have all of these shots that I imagine in 1983, the green screening technology was like, wow, this is amazing. It looks so great. From the perspective of 2025, it looks like absolute fucking garbage. It looks terrible. Like, if you wanted to show someone what an obviously green-screened image looks like, Jaws 3 is a great place to pull stuff from. It just, so much of it looks, it's got that, like, clear line of demarcation, where it's like, all right, this is clearly the actual actors, and then behind them is clearly a green screen. So it looks terrible throughout a lot of it. The shark itself looks terrible compared to the first two, Jaws and Bernie. If you haven't, I call the shark from Jaws, original Jaws, Steven Spielberg's Jaws. I call it that shark Jaws for clarification here. And then the shark from Jaws 2 basically gets its face lit on fire very early in the movie, and it's all scarred up. So I call that shark Bernie I forget exactly. Bernie McBurnface, something like that. I call him Bernie for short. Or her. I don't know. I don't know if these sharks are specifically gendered. Although actually the one in this film is the second shark in this film. There's two main sharks. There is little Jaws 3, and there's big Jaws 3. I'll say more about this in just a little bit. So, this film follows Mike Brody, who is the son of Norton Brody, played by Roy Scheider in the original films, the first two. In this one, Mike Brody is played by Randy Quaid, who I actually quite like. I think he's a very good actor. I don't know anything about him personally, but I think he's a good actor, generally speaking. So in response to the trauma of the two deadly instances with great white sharks from their childhood, Mike Brody, so Sean Brody, his younger brother, who actually witnessed someone being eaten by a shark like a foot away from him, has basically been like, yo, the water can go fuck itself. I'm not going in the ocean. I'm not going in ponds. I'm not going in lakes. I'm not going to swim. I'm going to move to Colorado, where they don't have oceans or sharks. I'm done with this shit. Mike Brody, by contrast, has become chief engineer at SeaWorld Orlando, which is in the process of opening, right? So he's regularly going in the water. He's constructing stuff that's going to be in the water, that's going to contain ocean life, etc., etc. And he's dating Kay Morgan, who's the senior biologist at the park. So in response to the childhood trauma of repeated once-in-a-lifetime shark attacks, Mike Brody has decided he's going to build his life around the ocean. Which, hey, you know what? We all cope in different ways, so no judgment there. But they're like getting SeaWorld Orlando ready to open. It's owned or run by Calvin Bouchard, who is pretty cool, pretty awesome guy. I forget who plays him. Louis Gossett Jr., another great actor. He is more interested in the financial side, the promotional side. How do we make money out of this, etc., etc. He brings in a guy named Phillip Fitzroyce, who comes along with his associate Jack Tate, and they are sort of like Fitzroyce is basically this sort of big shot, like wildlife photographer who gets these sort of dangerous underwater shots, especially. And so when a park employee, Shelby Overman, gets killed by a shark, they realize that there's a shark around. That's actually not necessarily what alerts them to it. There's also these dolphins, Cindy and Sandy, who are freaking out. So there's a whole bunch of little signs that they eventually start picking up on. The disappearance of Shelby Overman is one of those signs. They then catch Alves Jaws Jr. So they catch this shark that attempts to kill Kay and Mike while they are down doing some checks, basically looking for Overman's body. And they're checking some stuff out underwater. We get some nice green screen sub action, etc., etc. And then this shark chases them. The two dolphins, Cindy and Sandy, are like, grab my dorsal fin and I'll swim you the fuck out of here before we get eaten by this shark. So then they're like, all right, we gotta kill this shark. Phillip Fitzroyce is like, yeah, let's kill it and I will film it and we will make so much money off that footage. Bouchard is like, that sounds like an amazing plan to make money. And then Kay Morgan is like, no, that sounds like a terrible idea. How about instead we tranquilize this shark, put it in a tank, and fucking we'll be the only place on Earth that has a live captive great white shark. Think about how much more money we could make that way. And Bouchard's like, I do love making more money. So that's the plan they come up with. Things go not amazingly well, but they go well enough in the capture of the shark. Kay wants to study it. Bouchard is like, we just put it on display, whatever. Shark dies. So Kay's not pleased with that. Bouchard's not thrilled because he wanted to make a bunch of money off it. Now they just got a dead shark, which is not as profitable. And Fitzroyce didn't even get to film it dying, which is a pretty fucked up thing of him to want to do. I don't really approve of that. I'm going to go ahead and say it. Then they fish Shelby Overman's body out of the lagoon, the area that sort of connects SeaWorld to the open ocean. And Mike Brody almost pukes when he looks at it. Kay looks at it and is like, not because she's necessarily startled by how grotesquely decomposed it is, but because she immediately realizes that Jaws Jr., the great white shark that they had in the tank, did not kill Shelby Overman. See, now this is an interesting bit, actually. I started thinking about this because in the original Jaws film by Steven Spielberg, Matt Hooper takes measurements, right? He measures the sort of bite marks on the body of the first victim of Jaws. He measures bite marks on a boat that they pull in. He measures the mouth of a tiger shark that some random dudes catch. Kay does not take any measurements. She just looks at Overman's body and is like, that guy got killed by a shark with at least a 1 yard wide mouth. And Jaws Jr. over here, his mouth ain't that big. We got a mama shark, somewhere in the park, killing Shelby Overman. Not that we give a shit about Shelby Overman at the end of the day, but he's killing people, and that's not good. She's killing people, and that's not good. So Mama Jaws now becomes the priority. They figure out basically that Mama Jaws was hiding in a filtration pump, and they decide they're just gonna pursue Mama Jaws. Mama Jaws also decides she's just gonna start breaking everything. Like, she rams into the underwater tunnel, which has a bunch of SeaWorld guests. She destabilizes it. Water starts flowing in. They get sort of locked off in an airlock type section, and Mike Brody, as the chief engineer, has to figure out a way of securing that tunnel and repressurizing it without getting eaten by Mama Jaws. So they come up with a plan where Phillip Fitzroyce and Jack Tate are going to draw Mama Jaws back to the filtration pump system and then kill her in there. While they're doing that, Mike and Kay, even though she's not really supposed to be there, they go down and they're working on fixing this thing. They're welding some shit to it. Yeah, they're going to fix the whole system so they can get these people out, so they can evacuate everybody who hasn't been evacuated from the park. Mama Jaws just starts fucking eating Phillip Fitzroyce. It's this weird scene I don't really understand, where they've drawn her into this filtration pump system, which is basically like a big tunnel that they can lower a grate onto on each end. And she's swimming along. Phillip Fitzroyce has a rope tied to a thing up outside the filtration pump, and he's very slowly pulling himself along it while taking pictures of Mama Jaws behind him. And he's pulling himself along so fucking slowly. And Mama Jaws clearly can swim quite fast, but she's just moseying along. I don't understand why she's not just eating Phillip Fitzroyce immediately. But she does eventually end up eating Phillip Fitzroyce. Partially. She basically swallows him, but only halfway. Because later in the film, when she's ramming her head into the command center after she charges in and shatters the glass, she's got just Phillip Fitzroyce. Just if this is her mouth, Phillip Fitzroyce is just right there. Just wow, wow. And he's just there, holding a grenade in his hand, very conveniently, because he has underwater grenades for blowing up sharks. And Mike and Kay are in this sort of flooded command center. They've each still got their wetsuits on with their air tanks, which is why they're not drowning. And Mike is like, oh, Fitzroyce has a grenade in his hand. If I bend this piece of metal into a little hook and we just wait for Mama Jaws to open her mouth, I'll just hook the pin out of that grenade and we'll blow up Mama Jaws. This franchise, the Jaws franchise, loves blowing up sharks' heads. It's bordering on fetishistic. Because in the original, Sheriff Brody puts a compressed air tank into Jaws' mouth and then shoots it with an M1 Garand, which blows the tank up and blows up Jaws' head. In Jaws 2, he gets Bernie to bite down on a massive power cable, and Bernie's like, I'm getting electrocuted, and my head's on fire, and flames are spurting out of my eye holes in my mouth, etc., etc. And here they grenade Mama Jaws in the face. So the franchise just really loves blowing sharks' faces up, which I don't condone. I don't. I'm gonna hashtag woke, but I'm against blowing up the faces of sharks.